Welcome forward to star 17 of our reflections, and the three words we're going to be using today to help us orientate ourselves through the scriptures and help reveal meaning from them are goodness, sorrowful, and Joseph most chaste. So staying in Matthew 5 at the moment, so Matthew 5:14, you are the light of the world, a city built on a hill cannot be hidden. No one after lighting a lamp puts it under the bushel basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. So again, you can pause the videos and give that some thought yourself, particularly in terms of how goodness, sorrowful, and Joseph most chaste speaks to you and that particular scripture. So again, we've only got a few minutes, so we could talk for a rather long time, as always, on these on the scriptures, but just trying to keep it very brief and brainstorm and get us just thinking or starting on the day. Is clearly this part of scripture is ideal for looking at it in terms of the four levels of lamma, which we've been talking about: literal, looking for allegory, looking for moral metaphor, and looking for analogy. So there's a lot, very rich, there's a lot we could be doing with this piece of scripture. And then if you talk about those three words, so I suppose the most obvious thing is it talks about light literally, and what is, then you could ask yourself, well, what is light? And we know that, I suppose, light, there's a number of things there. It's made up of the colours of the rainbow, or if you like, what we would call, I suppose, a Roy G. Biv: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And so if light's made up of all those different colours, but it makes white light, I suppose you could think about, well, if it's in terms of analogy or allegory, sort of what could that mean for us in terms of life or our good works? Our good works are made up of more than just one thing, or the virtues, or that, I suppose, help us to carry out good works. It's not just one virtue in particular, there's many things there. And I suppose you could then start thinking about what happens if you took one of the colours away from white light. Would it still be white? And therefore, you could apply that to your own life. What if you took one of the virtues away from your life? What sort of impact would that have on your light? As I suppose you could say, as a star for other people to help them orientate their lives. We also know that light gives life to the earth, so things grow because of the light, and so clearly that there's a comparison there. So then you could start looking at even more that light is energy, and because it's then transformed into other energy forms, it's this concept of, I suppose, goodness being transformed into other forms of goodness. And again, does that happen with you? So who gives you, sort of, who's your light? Who's the light in your lives that gives you goodness? And then you reflect that on, it helps you grow, and then you reflect that on to other people. So clearly there's an awful lot we could talk about. So they're just some thoughts and ideas that for you to sort of, I suppose, to think about. And obviously it links in with the previous star about salt and saltiness, so a clear analogy there. Now, in terms of Joseph most chaste, we could argue that he's living a pure life. So therefore, again, you'd link that in with that particular virtue, and that particular way of living is giving off lots of light, lots of sort of, I suppose, an example of a way you could live, and then that affects other people, how they could live. But what's interesting is how you link in the word sorrowful. And throughout these reflections, Psalm 4 has actually, behind the background in my own reflections, has been there. And this is just another example of where I could talk about Psalm 4, but certainly a part of it, which is when you're feeling disturbed or angry, do not sin, sit silently uh, offer right sacrifice, which could be prayer, and then trusting God. So that's about doing God's will. But the sacrifice is in making the choices. What choice do you make? And if you make choice A, you'll sacrifice in choice B, for example. So again, there's a lot there to be thinking about. And clearly, Joseph chose the right choices. For him, he had to make certain sacrifices if he wanted to live a chaste life, a good life. And we can also link this in with Mary's life, where in the part of scripture it talks about so that people may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. And that's at the heart of the Magnificat, where Mary again talks about the Lord's being blessed to her, but it's the Lord has been blessed to her. So it's because of God that she's able to do her good works and so forth. Now I'm aware we're going on, so just to trying to bring this to a close, I would say it does very much link into that Psalm 4 for me, which is about, if we are sorrowful, and that might mean we're hiding our light or our goodness from other people, then we really do need to sit silently, pray, and then trust in God. So I'll leave you with your reflections. I appreciate that was a bit longer than normal, and God bless.